you're live, you can hear me. Hi, my name is Kacper. I'm a software engineer at Software Mansion, and Reanimated 4 is out officially as stable. And in this live stream, I'm going to explain the CSS animations, CSS transitions, how they work, when should you use it. We're going to explore the API. I'm going to tell you what's the difference between other APIs in Reanimated. And I'm going to live code a useful feature that you can use in your apps day to day, like a real life example for CSS animations and transitions. So first thing step, I'm going to create a new Expo project. So I'm going to, you can see it. I believe you should see it well. I'm going to cd to another folder. We're going to bootstrap a new app, and then I'm going to explain the stuff we're going to build and the APIs. OK, so let me create a new Expo app, and it's going to be Reanimated for CSS animations. OK, it's going to take just a second. Hi. Good. It means it's working. Good. And so this is a Reanimated 4 live stream. Reanimated 4 live stream. Okay. I need to install a couple of libraries for this example to work. So I'm going to cd into Reanimated CSS Animations. And the most important one is obviously Reanimated. So Reanimated latest and worklets latest. So React Native worklets is now a dependency of Reanimated. So it needs to be installed alongside React Native Reanimated. I'm installing it as latest because Expo projects come with Reanimated pre-installed, but it's going to be in version 3.17, I believe, and we want to have the 4.0, right? And for the demo, I also will need two more libraries, a masked view and a keyboard controller. So let me add it as well to the npm install. And then we're going to do a pre-build. So masked view and keyboard controller as well. OK. And a pre-tier. Why not? OK. Installed pretty quickly. I'm going to do an Expo pre-build. It's going to install the Cocoa pods, so it's going to take a while. So, OK. What are two new concepts in Reanimated 4 besides worklets? These are CSS animations and CSS transitions. Let's start from this. CSS animations and CSS transitions. And you use them in two different ways, in two different situations. So CSS animations are kind of fire and forget. OK? So they can run once or twice or infinitely or more, but these do not require user input. OK? So these are fire and forget. Let me add it to the notes. Fire and forget. OK? And CSS transitions, on the other hand, they need a state. They need a React state and React re-render. So they are state-based. OK? You can use React contexts. You can use Zustand or Redux. It doesn't really matter, but they don't need a re-render to work. And so these are state-bound. These are implemented by keyframes. So there are two properties that you need for CSS animations and two for CSS transitions to work. So this is animation. Let me change the color. Animation name, and animation duration. You need to specify as well the animation duration because by default, animation duration is 0. So when you want to have an animation, you need to specify it as well. And the animation name, these are keyframes. This is a bit confusing because of legacy reasons from the web. On the web, CSS animation name is a string, but for us, animation name is a JavaScript object, and this JavaScript object are keyframes. So let me put that keyframes. Okay, something like that. These are keyframes. For CSS transitions, we have two properties that are required as well: transition property and transition duration. Let me duplicate that one. Transition property and transition duration. Transition duration by default is 0. For CSS animations, you specify keyframes. For transition property, you specify properties that are going to be animated with the React state. Let me put that. Properties. Make it a bit bigger and add a... OK. And these two are required. You can add modifiers to both CSS animations and CSS transitions that change how the transition or the animation look like. Set plus modifiers. OK. So this is the bare minimum you need to know to understand anything from CSS animations transitions. And let me check my my build. We have the CocoaPods installed. That's good. We have Reanimated installed, Worklets installed, Masked View as well, and Keyboard Control. That seems good. I'm also gonna to set up prettier. OK, so that's all the setup we need. I'm gonna open it with VS Code as my daily driver. I don't need an update right now during live stream. OK, so I have iOS and Android folders available for me because I did a pre-build. I'm going to add these folders to gitignore. Androids, as because of pre-build, I don't need to have them on my computer at all times. I do have to have them on my computer, but they don't have to be checked out to Git. That seems correct. That seems correct. That seems correct as well. We have Reanimated 4.0. That's perfect. And we have Worklets installed as well. OK. I'm going to run Radon IDE because it's my daily driver and wait for the build. And let me also explain some more of CSS animations, CSS transitions as the build goes. So that's setup. Hit commit. I want to also remove all the code that Expo gave me. So I'm going to run reset project. This command in the terminal. npm I reset project. I don't want to deal with any of this stuff. That didn't work. Not npm I, npm run, sorry. Reset project. No, I want to delete them, all of them. That's perfect. And we have a blank slate. Perfect. Great for live coding. Setup v2. And this is building. OK, so let's explore the API a little bit more. And for this, I have the Introducing React Native Reanimated 4 video. Because there is, if you haven't watched this video, you definitely should. It goes through the details, what we've changed in Reanimated, what's new, what's interesting. So you should definitely check this out. But for this live stream, I'm also only need these two examples because they show the new features really, really well. So on the left, I have CSS transition, and I'm specifying to transition property and transition duration. The transition property said that transform is going to be animated. And it's going to be animated from 5 to 0, okay, with the React state right here. On press in, on press out, it changed from 5 to 0. And you can change how the animation look like with transition timing function. The transition timing function calculates the intermediate steps of an animation. Here is ease in. There is also ease in, ease out, linear. There are different ones in the documentation stated right here. So you can explore this. You can also pass a cubic Bezier if you need, and all the good stuff, right? So this is transition timing function. Have the examples. Yeah, that was ease, I believe. So that's the basic of CSS transition. For CSS animations, we have animation name, which as I said, it's a keyframe. Okay, and this keyframe can go from 0 to 100. There are different syntax for different preferences. There's no difference. You can set as numbers or as strings. You can also say from and to. From is 0%, to is 100%. And what this animation does, it wiggles a little bit from left to right. So it rotates from 7 degrees to negative 10 degrees, back to 10 degrees, negative 7, and back to 0. So it's a wiggle. Okay, it takes 2.5 seconds, and it repeats infinitely. So yeah, CSS animations, fire forget. This will work till the end of time. Joking. Till the screen is removed. And this one from CSS Transition needs a state to change. Let me see. The radon is built. My app, perfect. That works great. I'm gonna make the text a little bit bigger for you guys. Yeah, definitely. Increase font size. Is that okay? No, maybe something bigger. That should be okay. Yeah, that should be okay. And what's the plan for the stream? Yes. The plan for the stream is to build a really simple mock of an app. And this mock of an app is going to be looking like the Gemini app. Maybe I do have a Mobbin. Let me see if I'm going to show you how it's going to look like. Chat. See, something like that. So we're going to have text in the middle. It's going to animate with CSS animations. The gradient's going to wiggle or rotate. And I'm going to have an input that's animate with a button. So the button's going to use CSS transitions. Okay, that's the idea. I'm going to mock it really, really quickly in TLDraw. Right here. Have hello Kacper. Something like that. And that's why I needed a masked view for this text. And I'm going to use a keyboard controller for the input in the bottom. Okay. So here, oh, why is it so big? Have an input. It says ask. Okay. And the input's going to animate with a keyboard controller. And we're going to have a button right here as well that's animating with CSS animations, CSS transitions, sorry. Really simple, really easy. Because CSS animations and CSS transitions are really easy, let me go and animate the first CSS animation. I'm going to explain other parts of Reanimated in the meantime. So let me start by changing this to my hello Kacper. And I want to have that as a gradient. And I'm going to make it a bit bigger as well. Style sheet. Create. OK. And it's going to be a greeting. With font size, maybe something big. 20 is not so big. Maybe 30 or 40. I'm missing the import for style sheet. Yep, and attach it to the text. Styles greeting. Thank you, Copilot. It's a bit bigger. I want to make it bold for you to see the gradient. font weight bold. Okay. I want to also hide the header of the animation of the navigation header. So this is screen options, header shown. And I'm going to also change the name, not the name, the background color of the screens to be pale white, because currently it's gray. I want to have it pure white. Content style, background color white. That's perfect. I did it previously. That's why it's said. Copilot said exactly the code that I needed. Now it's white. I have hello Kacper in the middle, and I'm gonna add a gradient right now. So I'm gonna add a view that has a style of gradient. And for gradient, I'm gonna use the new experimental background image. And this experimental background image now implements linear gradient from the web. I'm not gonna use Expo gradient anymore, Expo linear gradient, because I can use React Native. So linear gradient CSS generator, that's perfect. I can use one of those, something like that. And you can pass it to experimental background image as a string. I need to specify the width of it and the height, and attach it to the view, obviously. Gradient. There you go. OK, I have some gradient. Perfect. But I wanted to have as a mask. But let me first show you the CSS animations. That's why we are here, right? So CSS animations work really, really easily because I can import Animated from Reanimated and make the view as animated view. And this animated view now has superpowers because it can animate it in place. So I'm specifying animation name, as I said. This is going to be, look, Copilot says it's a string. It's not a string, it's a JavaScript object. OK, very important. And I'm going to specify 2. What I want to do is to rotate the gradient. OK, this is done with transform rotate. Like that, rotate 300 degrees. Exactly right. I don't need that. Oh no, what happened? Technical difficulties. OK, we're back. Is a question on chat? No. OK, sorry for that. And we're going to need animation duration. And let's set it to 3 seconds. I need a comma. And the gradient now rotates with 2 lines of code, maybe 4. OK, but it rotates just once. Remember, fire and forget, CSS animations. To make it repeat, I can say animation iteration count. And then it will iterate, for example, 3 times. Refresh. It's once, twice, 3 times. Then it should stop. No, what happened? Oh, because it's full rotation. OK, 3 times, sorry. That worked. That worked great. But let me just spin it infinitely. OK, this is going to now spin. And I want to have it as a mask for hello Kacper. I'm going to yoink some code from masked view from here to achieve this effect. OK, this is how we're going to do it. And the view right here is going to rotate and animate. Is the animation function is by default? Is in out, I believe. So for timing function, see default. It defaults to ease. OK? And for animation timing function, it also defaults to ease. Yep. I'm wondering if using useState together with transition preferred has any performance impact. Or would it be better to use shared value from Reanimated 4 for smoother performance? That's a good question, actually. So for transition property, you need to have a React re-render. and shared values won't work. It won't have a better performance. It just won't work. So you should just use state for this. For performance reasons, yes, that's also part of the question. You can specify, for transition property, you can specify all to animate all properties, but you should never do that. You should always just say which property you want to animate. It's going to be more performant that way. You can just say, yeah, OK, just animate everything. That's going to have performance impact. Great question. Just specify the property you want to animate and use React re-renders, so React state. OK, nice. Where was I? OK, masked view. Masked view. I'm going to take this code because it's perfect for what I need and paste it right here. Import the masked view from the library. What's the import? Like so. OK. Good. I'm going to move my rotating gradient inside of the mask. Like that. OK. Yeah. I can see it rotates. Maybe that's not the best gradient. Can you see it as well? Not really, no. What kind of property can be used? You can't use layout properties. So for that, for example, you can't animate flex direction from row to column. You can only use it with layout animations. Well, it's not allowed, but it's not going to animate. So I think there is in the documentation there's an example for that. So if you have discrete properties like flex column, it won't smoothly animate. For that, you need to use layout animations. OK? Yeah, flex direction, justify content. It's not going to animate. But you can use opacities, transforms, widths, margins, etc. So colors also, yeah, colors also as well. I'm going to change the gradient to look to a bit different one. Maybe it will be better for the live stream. For this one, for example. Flex. Oh, flex. I'm not sure. I believe there is an example in the CSS example app in Reanimated that you could use flex. I think there is an example that uses flex. So I think yes, but I'm not 100% sure. We can try it. OK, that looks good. Yeah, that looks good. OK. I'm going to change that to greeting, styles.greeting. And I'm going to move it to mask. This is mask. No, OK. Styles.mask. And this move to mask view. OK, this is basically what I wanted to achieve. For CSS animations, let's move to CSS transitions next. Mask view. Yep, and here. Like that. And like that. Amazing. OK. So for CSS transitions, we're going to have a text input with a button. The button's going to move from left to right on user focus when the keyboard is shown. And when someone taps it, it's going to shrink a little bit with scale. And when you send a message, we're not going to implement the sending message, I believe. We're not going to have enough time. But just to mock it, it's going to shoot up to the sky to indicate that it's going to send. OK, so these are 3 CSS transitions. Yep. Next, add a text input. Okay, import that. Okay, and let me add a placeholder in a second. But I want to have a button, and that's gonna be a pressable. Okay. And for the pressable, I'm gonna use arrow from Expo font, Expo icons, I believe. Expo icons. Yep. Arrow. And I don't have to install it. It's already pre-installed in Expo projects. So this is very handy. And let's see, make it white. But I want to have pressable as blue. Okay, we're going to implement the transitions in a second. $50, $50, that's okay-ish. Okay, so I can see the button. It's very, very ugly. I'm going to source the color from Tailwind to make it a little bit nicer. So normally I'm using colors from Tailwind, but now they change it to Oak, whatever this is. This does not work in React Native at all, but you can hold Shift to have the code in hex. So that's handy. So I'm going to use blue. No one ever complains about blue. So I'm going to use that. It's a bit nicer. I'm going to center the icon. Yep. Align, center. That's perfect. OK, I can see my button, send button. Looks good. But I can't see the text input because it's not styled. OK. It's kind of OK-ish. I'm going to adjust the styles a little bit. Vibe coded. That looks good, actually. Holy shit. I'm going to change the width of the border to hairline width, though. OK, and color to something different. OK. Can you see it? Yeah, looks good. And move it as a flex direction to row. It's going to be my footer. That's always going to be on the bottom of the screen. So I'm going to use position absolute for this. Footer. Flex direction row. That's right. Seems right. Going to stick it to the bottom of the screen. OK. Looks good. And add a gap. And now, if I tap it, the keyboard hides my text input. So I don't have a way to animate it, right? How am I going to animate a button if it's underneath a keyboard? So I'm going to need to use a keyboard controller to show it at all times. And to set up keyboard controller, I need to do one more step of installation. Yes, add a keyboard provider, like so. Not here, here. OK. That's the setup. But we need to use, let's use keyboard avoiding view. Yes, that's what I want to achieve. OK. OK. Let's yank it really, really quickly. And this as well. And let's see if this is going to work at all. OK, I'm missing something. I'm missing some styles. Yep. OK. a bit much, but some things work. That's good. And in a second, I'm gonna animate the button. Can you do shared element transitions? No, not yet. We are actively working on shared element transitions, but they are not on 4.0 just yet. They're gonna come in the maybe next minor release of v4. So not yet, but they're coming. Change this. Okay, that's a bit too much. Put 16. And we have keyboard animated view, keyboard avoiding view. Yeah, that works good. Okay. So now what I want to have that text input take the whole space if the keyboard is not present. Okay, this whole view. And I want to show the send button when a user focuses the input. So how am I gonna do this? I want to have a isFocused state. Okay, and based on that state, I'm gonna show or hide the button. So let's add focused, like so. I don't want that. I want to import React. Good. And for that animation, I'm going to use CSS transitions because they are state bound. So they need to have a state change for animation. Okay. And I need to have, do I have to have a ref? No, there's an on focus and on blur. Yes, exactly. How did you get the simulator embedded in the editor? That's Raid IDE. So this part of VS Code, it also works in Cursor. This part of the editor is Raid IDE. I can see my logs in here. I can change the appearance. Can you see it? Yeah. From light to dark, change the state. Very useful, very handy. I can go very quickly to the part of code that I need with the emulator, the element inspector, like so. And I can also have Android here, but it's a bit slow to build, so I'm not gonna build it on live stream. But yeah, this is Raid IDE. But where was I? Okay, state on blur and on focus. On focus, changed isFocus to true. Set isFocus to true. Okay, and on blur to the same. Okay, so I have on blur and on focus state. Okay, and based on that, I want to move my button to the right or change the opacity. So the first step is to make my pressable and animated pressable. With create animated component from Reanimated. Okay, and I'm gonna use it right here. This adds a superpowers to my pressable because now I can use CSS Animations, CSS Transitions, and other good stuff from Reanimated. So I'm gonna change the style to add inline the transition property, remember? And first I'm gonna animate opacity, okay? Just to showcase. And set the transition duration, 300 milliseconds, fine. But I want to make it disappear. And it's focus. If it's focused, then it's visible. If it's not focused, it's gonna disappear. And that's all it takes to animate. Do we need to run npx expo run iOS after installing keyboard controller? I'm not sure if it supports Expo Go. Let me check Expo Go. It doesn't say much. Expo does not work with Expo Go. So you have to use a dev client or pre-built to use React Native keyboard controller with Expo. So yeah. Oh, you're asking how did I make it run? So no, I just opened Radon and it built it for me. Where was I? Okay, animation. Now it appears and disappears when I blur. Nice, okay, that's cool. But I also want to make the input larger when it's not visible, or the button is not visible. And I'm gonna achieve this with margin left, like so. I'm gonna add new transition property as margin left. Okay. And I'm gonna move the button to the either right or left, I believe to the right with margin. Yeah, that's correct because I've implemented before. No, that's not correct. That's not what I wanted. Okay, kinda. It's not correct. So let me change. Well, the animation works, just my code is wrong. I would like to have it take as much space as it needs. So it flex 1. Okay. That's kind of what I wanted, but not really. Okay. I also need some padding. Okay. Left, right, and top, footer, send button. Yeah. And I'm going to translate the button to the right as well. So that's transform. Not like that. You can find the description. Okay. Sorry, I focused on the code. Can you find your VS Code setting somewhere for Radon? I never managed to make it work properly. If you're curious if VS Code is somewhere on GitHub. I have nothing here. This is not for Radon. So Radon should basically work on its own. As a part-time streamer, yeah, exactly. Can we animate width or height with percentage value? You can animate it with number. With percentage value, I'm not sure. I could ask Mateusz, who implemented it, but I'm not sure. Percentage values, I would say no because they are strings, but I'm not incredibly sure, 100% sure. So transform, translate. I want an x-axis and move it more to the right. That's kind of what I wanted, but it moves the wrong side. -50. Oh, yes, there you go. -50 margin. Okay. Okay, yes. That's perfect. It moves it out of the screen, it changes the opacity to 0, and then makes the input bigger. This is what I wanted. And what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lines of code? That's amazing. Older phones with the CSS transition work? Yep. Animating width and height is generally a bad idea. Yes. Can you do sharedown and transition? No, sharedown and transition are not there yet. We are implementing it. They are not ready yet. Are we going to get code from this video? Sure, I can send it on Twitter, for example, or on my GitHub. That also works. Okay, 2 more animations for CSS transitions. I wanted to make it shrink when I press it, and I wanted to launch it up when we send a message. Okay. So for this, I'm going to use also CSS transitions, but add a new state. No problem. On press in. why is animating height and width a bad idea? Because it triggers layout re-renders, and this is costly. So normally animating opacity and translates used to be cheaper, yes, because this layout recalculation is slow. Exactly right. Jump, you're right. Yep. Where was I? Okay, sorry. I get really easily distracted. Is pressed. I want a state for is pressed when we pressing the button. Exactly right. And I'm gonna set the state on press in and on press out stated back to false. Thank you, Copilot. You read my mind. And this is a bit hacky, but we already have one animation right here. I will wrap that pressable with another view and animate that view, because there's a limit of how many animations you can attach to one view. Okay. View. I'm gonna wrap the whole animated pressable, and we're gonna shrink it with CSS transition. So that's style. I probably need to pass some state from pressable back to the animated view, but in a second. I want to transition the transform property. Yep. 200 milliseconds is okay. And I want to transform the scale. Scale. When it's pressed, it's going to be smaller. So 0.9 is fine. And go back to normal when it's unpressed. Can you do a few tricks with moving by translate and hiding it containers, or scale, or tricks with position, absolute, and stuff? Oh, wow. Okay, I haven't prepared that for myself right now. I could maybe in another stream, but I haven't prepared. Hiding containers or scale. We can try, but let me finish what I wanted to build first. Okay. Sorry. Okay, yeah. Okay. Thanks, jump. Okay, we have the animation. It's a bit small and slow. Let's make it faster and make it a bit nicer to see. Yeah. Again, 3 lines of code for a simple animation. It's perfect. We used to have to do this with shared values, with use animated style, attaching it with pressables and gesture handlers sometimes to manage gestures. But here I have animated pressable, a state, and 3 properties. Transition property, transition duration, and transform. That's basically it to make this. And I have this as well. Okay. I also want to launch it with another CSS transition. I'm going to attach it right here. Will it be this smooth on web? Yeah. Yep. Should be. Well, CSS. Yeah, it's okay. Oh, okay. Doesn't pressable have a style function with the press state? Maybe. That's new for me. That's cool. I may actually learn something. It does. Oh, shoot. Okay. It does. Let's use it instead. That's cool. Okay. No, I need it here, not here. That might work. Let me try it here. That's amazing, actually, if it's gonna work. I need to return it. Pressed. Okay, I want to transition property transform. Yep, and scale. I don't know if it's gonna work. Okay, missing something. It's a bit much. Pressed, and I don't need this anymore. Oh, you see, I broke it. Undepressable from the view now. Okay, let's try it. Let's go. Yeah, I've never seen it before. I would say no. No, it breaks the styles. No, I haven't seen it. So no, that doesn't work for animated pressables. I've learned something today, so that's cool. Is pressed. Let me get this back to where it was. Okay. Okay. So it's pressed. So it's not a first argument. Ah, okay. It's destructed. I got very sidelined of what I wanted to build. No. That does not work. Nope. Sorry, chat. I'm going to revert to how it was. I think this code is correct-ish. We haven't tried this. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe because it needs this state here. Shame, I usually use it to simplify some things. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. I don't know how it works underneath. Okay, last CSS transition, and if you have some time, we have a little bit of time, so maybe we'll go to layout animations. But one more animation with CSS animations, and then we can move on. So up when we send. I'm not going to try it 4 times. No, you're not correct. It was like that. I destructured this. It was like this. So, yeah. Animated view. View. Yeah, there you go. And I want to have another state for another animation, and this is going to be ascending. No, I'm gonna go to the next example. Is sending. I'm gonna set it when we press send. So when we press send, it's on press. Gonna implement handle send. Oh, it's very broken. Okay, missing this function. Good. With reproduction, please. Okay, and set it to sending, because we're gonna need some more code for this to work. What I want to do, if it's sending, I want to move it up and change the opacity. Okay. To move it up, I'm going to use transform, translate Y. This dude doesn't use cursor. I have Copilot here. I do use agent mode from Copilot, but that's basically the same stuff. But thank you. Assuming that Reanimated overrides the part of pressable type prop with the create animated component, but could probably be supported if that's the case. Yeah. Copilot is getting quite good. Yeah, I agree. That might be the case, Oscar. Yeah. Yeah. But for learning, I want to type out the code and showcase the API. I do vibe code sometimes. Is sending. I'm going to launch it up. So that's, for example, 200 pixels, maybe negative pixels, I believe. No, that went the other way. I need to do it y-axis like so. OK, so we've launched it up. 200 milliseconds is OK. And I want to change the opacity as well. Opacity. OK. If it's sending, set to 0. If it's not, to 1. OK. And it disappeared. That's correct. I need to revert to sending false when we tap. So after some time, flying send button. Yes, flying send button, exactly. Because it simulates sending, right? That's my idea. Set timeouts, set sending to false. That's OK. And we will hide the keyboard in a second for a good measure. OK, set sending to false. Oh, it disappeared. True. OK, false again. OK, good. Launch it. OK. And when I close the keyboard, it's going to go back to where it should be. But this actually looks good. And again, 2 lines of code. That's perfect. But I really close the keyboard to fulfill the animation. So here I have a text input. I'm going to add a ref for it. Ref. Yep. Use ref. That's correct. Import it from React. Attach it to the text input. Is it attached? It is already attached. Perfect. And when we send, I want to close it. So ref.current.blur, exactly. And I can clear whatever I had back there. OK, send. OK. It's not perfect. And a bit slow. This is literally use animated style and shared values interpolable on steroids. It's much easier for many cases, and it does not use shared values. You could use shared values. You can mix and match CSS animation, CSS transition with shared values and layout animations, but it does not rely on shared values. But yeah, it's way easier in just a couple lines of code. Yeah. So I want to close it nearly immediately and then set sending to false. Set timeout again. Why not? 100, maybe 600. OK, so that opens. It shows the button. It has the scale. Yeah, that's what I wanted to have. It's perfect. Yep, nice. OK, that's cool. with a little bit more time, so I can go and show you a trick with layout animations, maybe, because I fell in love recently with layout animations. Not recently, but that's basically CSS animation, CSS transitions. So let me show you just one more trick with CSS, not with CSS, but with layout animations. So I want to, when the screen first appears, I want to jiggle the letters of Hello Kacper a little bit with layout animations. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put Hello Kacper as a string and then split it into letters. Okay? Like so, without the space. Okay? I'm going to map over this. Okay, that's nearly what I wanted. What's the masked view? I guess I missed that. In a second, okay? I'm going to get back to the code in just a second. I'll finish this. Oh, why it can be in masked view. Okay, that's okay. You're right. I'm using the masked view to show, to make the text as gradient what's animating. Okay? So, I turn off Copilot. Yeah, maybe I should. Yeah. So, is that some library? Okay, yeah. It is a library. It is a library, React Native masked view. And you can achieve stuff like that with the masked view. And instead of these views, I'm having a gradient that's rotating with CSS animations. Let's get back to this. So currently nothing has happened. Oh, it broke my styles, but that's okay. I'm gonna put it as flex direction row. And is like it was. Perfect. But now I'm gonna add layout, entering layout animation with fading down. Okay. But it needs to be an animated text. So, okay, nice. Layout animations animate stuff when they are added or removed from the React view hierarchy. So this is perfect use case when I want to, when users first see my screen, they have animation. But let me add one more thing for this. I want to delay each of the letter by some time. Okay, index times 33 milliseconds. There you go. Nice. Okay. I'm going to make it Springify and add, let's see how it works now with a Spring. That's a bit nicer, yeah? And make it stiff. No, the damping ratio a little bit less than 10. Okay, that's too much. 10 was okay. No. Maybe mass 2. Okay, that's nice. That's nice. And we still have that CSS animation that's rotating the gradient. Okay. When you open the screen, you greet with a layout animation. We have a text input with a CSS transition right here that's animating when you press. And when you press send, it launches up and closes. It's nice. We had like 4 different delay by index. Yep. We have like 4 different animations with like, I don't know, 100 lines of code. That's the power of Reanimated 4. It's cool. What's the time? It's exactly an hour. So I think we can wrap at this. I can explain a little bit CSS animations, CSS transitions. So you don't use CSS animations and CSS transitions for everything, because there are some parts of animations, like gestures, that rely on shared values. So for gesture handler-driven animations, you need to use shared values with use animated style to drive your animations. For layout animations, so like animating flex direction or justify content, you need to use layout animations. And for animating elements between the screens, in the future, you will use shared element transitions. But for many, many cases that are very easy to add, very easy to maintenance, because this is just 2-3 lines of code, you can use CSS animations and CSS transitions. So yeah, I will show you, I will send you the code on Twitter, and I think we can, okay, let me show my face. I think we can wrap at this. And there's another, actually chat app where send button disappears after one message would help people that write messages one line by one. Yeah, that might be the case. Yeah. But yeah, that's it from me. And see you maybe next one. Bye.